There was like one time, like, I think I said something or did something, and then I got oh, so you're American now? I'm like,
oh, really?
Am I not? Yeah, I'm like, it was like
trying to
mostly
figure
an
out
insult.
your identity outside of the Philippines.
Yeah. It was mostly insulting because I'm just like, yo, I'm sitting here like being like so proud to be like Filipino, being from the Philippines and like growing up there, especially from the region I'm from.
Beep.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Awkward Tea Party, where Max and I, my girlfriend, my partner, where we talk about anything and everything we want, pop culture, work, relationship stuff, whatever. And today, the first three things that we have in mind are talking about Batman, Encanto, and Turning Red. Right? Yeah, Turning Red, because apparently I didn't finish writing the name in the notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the first bits, we're going to be talking about the movies we recently watched. And then a little bit after that, where there are some other things that we kind of want to talk about. That it's going to, we have that time, but because these other topics are kind of on the deep end as well. But anyways, shouts out to Mariah for hopping on. Saying that Captain America is better. Okay. Before
We're not doing this.
I'm not going to do comparisons, but I do the whole Boy Scout thing of Captain America. I like that he's the guy that stands up for the right thing almost to a fault, where he's kind of annoying. But I think the thing that sold me about
Scott Pilgrim is a superior movie.
Scott Pilgrim beat Captain America and
Captain Marvel.
And
Superman.
Nonetheless, like it was Winter Soldier that sold Captain America to me, because I was wondering, like, man, this guy's a super patriot. How are they going to sell that to like the regular audience? And then they flipped it, where he's like, he held on to his values. Like that. But Batman, I guess it depends on which Batman you like. Because going into it, I'm going to say, just for anyone who's listening, this is going to contain spoilers, because Max and I really want to nerd out about this. But I'm going to say this is probably my favorite Batman film, because like one of them, because I had my skepticism of Rob Pattinson being the Batman, but
seen him in the
because of Twilight, but I saw his performance in in Good Times, and I thought it was a fantastic, great performance.
The Lighthouse, I highly recommend.
Also, The Lighthouse. And I also remember how everyone reacted to when it was Heath Ledger coming out as like the Joker the first time. I was like,
it was a pretty good from A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, for It's a Knight's Tale. What's he gonna do? Yada yada. And then he became literally he's top 3 Jokers, or one of the best Joker performances ever. So, and then Rob Pattinson, I think he did a fantastic job as portraying Batman, and I think combined that with a fantastic script, very grounded, very beautiful execution of everything from set design to pacing to everything. It's a 3-hour movie, so I felt like it was nicely paced. Nothing felt rushed. I felt like there was pretty good payoff for a lot of things. So there's a lot I can go into. But your initial thoughts.
The best part of the whole movie is just one thing, anyway.
Zoe motherfucking Kravitz.
That's fair.
No thoughts. Only Zoe Kravitz.
I fair.
No thoughts.
I didn't really. I liked the portrayal of all these costumes, because they felt, for the most part, realistic. Like,
they looked practical. Besides the heels, practical.
Yeah, especially with Rob Pattinson's outfit, or costume. Like, it felt
freaking combat boots, man.
Combat boots. It felt and then his sign right here was a friggin' batarang. Yeah, it was really good. I forgot to have.
Makes sense.
I forgot to have Nightbot on. But go ahead.
Oh, hi, Nightbot.
Yeah, you're good.
It felt a little bit more grounded, but I still like the fact that it was campy without being like in your face campy about it. I mean, like the Tim Burton ones were like super campy. Like, campy on purpose, and that's why I love them.
Yeah, they had that very like Art Deco style, like very still dark, but it didn't. You could tell this is like a comic book movie.
Yeah.
The storytelling here felt like a suspense crime, like thriller kind of movie.
Yeah.
With a superhero.
Yeah.
Like replace Batman and like maybe half the flying, half the aerial shit, but with a headstrong detective with a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And I think that they did say last year, like when they first started putting this out, that they were trying to do like a whole detective Batman instead of like crazy action. And that's what I liked. It felt
the Dark Knight series.
Yeah, it felt grounded. The introduction to his character, he's walking into it. I think Tim Burton,
of like dropping in and ziplining in and all that shit.
Yeah, and then it felt good, and it felt like the way they used the suit. Like, you can tell that it wasn't like no hidden gadgetry. Like, you can see like the taser, like everything around him, and the clever use of like practical use of his cape is beautifully executed.
In terms of the freaking scroll suit.
Yeah, the
scroll suit.
Oh yeah, the scroll suit. Yeah, I thought.
Suit.
Yeah, that was. I thought you said Skrulls, like from Marvel, but but yeah, because I was wondering why he had the like little extra neck thing, but I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like in terms,
that cowl was a good look too. So
yeah, and what I also liked was this very different portrayal of the villain, of the Riddler.
Yeah,
because we had Edward Nygma, like I had like the animated series, very like pretentious almost.
And then Riddler in the Harley Quinn like animated series, that's like the new one. I fucking love it. It's just we saw a little bit of it. I don't think you got to the part where he was there. We need to keep watching that. But yeah, it was because and then also like I think my friends and I were talking about, because my friends and I saw it together, and we were talking about how like we love Colin Farrell as Penguin.
Oh yeah, shit.
Like completely unrecognizable. John Turturro forgot that he was Colin Farrell under there. But like we still think our favorite one, besides like DeVito, our favorite Penguin is from the Harley Quinn series, who's coded very Jewish, whose freaking nephew had a bar mitzvah.
Oh yeah, I love okay, so going on that tangent of the Harley Quinn series is probably one of the best animated series I've ever seen. Great writing. He has like witty adult humor combined with your favorite superheroes. I think that's one of the best. And sorry, your super villains, one of the best. And then I really love how Harley Quinn really just, I don't know, going from a sidekick to now one of her own brand of villain. I think that was cool. I remember having a crush on her when I was a little kid. I was like, it's Harley Quinn.
Same.
Yeah.
I was like, I like her.
Yeah, going back to it, like the rendition of these villains were brilliant, and the groundedness of it, of like Batman going to these nightclubs, having to talk to the villains, like having
to be to the point that Bruce Wayne was the disguise.
Yeah. That was genius.
Batman. Bruce Wayne was a disguise. He literally would just take the suit off and be Bruce Wayne so he can get in there.
Yeah. I was like what the wow. This is so good. Yeah. What do you call it? And then how these guys aren't exactly like super, like we're super villains and all that shit, or to rule the world. Like they're just part of the crime scene. And then he like literally Batman. That's the thing. Like Batman going to their territory, trying to get information, as if like any kind of suspense detective kind of thing. I think that was, because for me, I almost feel like when they see the villain, there's an immediate like high level intense confrontation. But this one was more like, no, like he's just another crook who I'm trying to get information from.
Yeah. And then also what I liked was like it brought back, because you know how like going back to some of the older like Batman movies where it's like there's always some sort of like tension between Batman and like a woman, like sexual tension. They can clearly see it's palpable, even especially in the comics. But like in the Dark Knight series, it was just like the one with Rachel. It was just like it was more like he was in love with the idea of her, like the idea of her was like the purity, the goodness, and all that. And then like and then I think the last one where it was he had like a brief thing with Selena Kyle or whatever, and Hathaway, Selena Kyle.
I forgot.
But like there was like no chemistry. There was just like nothing. And then with this one, it was like it brought I don't want to say it, like it brought back the horniness into Batman. You know what I mean? Like, but it was respectful horny.
first impression of Catwoman was Michelle Pfeiffer. She's to this day for me the perfect Catwoman. The scene where she licks Batman's face, I'm like, that's forever imprinted in my mind. I don't know.
I know. I saw that.
Super young. I was like, why are you doing that? And I'm like, because I was a kid. And then
why are you doing? And then you're like, do that to me.
Now I'm like,
me, please.
Me next.
me.
Yeah, going into the villains again, like the interpretation of the Riddler was like probably my favorite because it's like they took him. How I took it was like they took elements of what the Zodiac Killer wearing the mask, and then also elements of Jigsaw where he's like playing a game, a riddle. In order for these people to be safe, you have to solve it. So I just loved it. And then he was more like unhinged, angry, like the way he was portraying it. Yeah. And I forgot who's the actor, but I remember seeing the actor.
And I love the fact that like they just made Riddler. They didn't make Riddler some sort of like a Jim Carrey type or whatever. It was just some nerd.
Yeah, it was Paul Dano. Yeah. I remember seeing him in the movie Girl Next Door. And he was also in Little Miss Sunshine, the older brother. Yes. And I was like, whoa, he looks so much older now. And then he is killing the shit out of this role. Because
he's also like a regular nerd, like without the mask. I'm like, this dude's such a fucking nerd who's angry.
Yeah. And then what I also liked is the adding the online element of him streaming to an audience, like on the dark web and whatnot, and then building his audience. And in his last memo, he was like very grounded. He was like, I appreciate the community. And you know,
I was sitting there, I was like whispering to my friends. I was like, thank you, fuck you, Batman 69 for the bits. Thank you for the gift of subs. Thank you.
But appreciate you. That made a very grounded way of how he got henchmen.
Yeah.
Because he had rabid followers. Because obviously he's Bane and what he caught. The other Batman movie with Christian Bale, like he just already had henchmen. People were already helping. Like, cool, I got a crew. And then
he acted alone for the longest time.
And then in terms of like the Christian Bale movies, I think he was probably one of the best Bruce Waynes because he was very much like
he was a great Bruce Wayne
because he was very much like he believes in Gotham, the goodness of Gotham and all that stuff. I felt grounded. I think it was very much a similar story in a sense, like losing your way and then finding it. Like with this, it felt like Rob Pattinson's version of the Batman was like I'm vengeance, and he's just angry. He never
even said he was Batman.
Yeah, everyone. Once. And I just love how
I think the only one that called him Batman was freaking Riddler to the Batman.
The Batman. Yeah, I think. Was it Catwoman just kept calling him, hey, vengeance?
Hey, vengeance.
Like how kept mocking him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And then there's like a lot of the great, clever like use of symbolism. I just great like in the beginning, obviously he's like saying he's vengeance. He's trying to like put fear into these people, but obviously it backfired in the sense of like now him being a vigilante and trying to strike fear into criminal hearts. It's kind of like it's making other crazy people, like not crazy people, but other people
misguided souls.
Thank you. Because it's like to the freedom to put on the mask and do the same thing and for their own justice. Yeah. So, and then
but the thing is though, like it still shows that they talk like on his streams and in like social network they're using to like communicate, and they talk about bring guns, bring this, bring all of this stuff like to Gotham Square Garden. I've been there. We met outside there at Gotham Square Garden, and then it kind of still shows that like, they're still amateurs. Like none of them are trained assassins.
Yeah,
and some of them might have been like former military or whatever the fuck, but like they were still amateurs. Like they're not like professional henchmen. They're not trained assassins. They're not freaking ninjas.
Or
like,
who knows, some of these
disgruntled people with guns.
Or people who are like
that can afford all this shit.
Maybe ex-military. I don't know. I think that might be into that.
Some of them might have been ex-military, but like maybe some of them could have just got swept up in all this shit. And it was like, I can afford to buy all these.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And oh man, again, for those listening or barely hopping onto the stream, we are like talking about the Batman, and we are nerding about it, and we are talking about every parts of it. So there's going to be a lot of spoilers. Yeah, I like that the introduction, that there was a lot of villains introduced, but they didn't feel like they overpowered each other too much. Yeah. There was a point where I think I completely forgot about the Riddler, and because everything became about Falcone. And and then because trying to expose like the writer and all that stuff, but he was an essential part of the mystery, which was part of the bigger thing that the Riddler was trying to set up. So I'm like, oh, it didn't feel like they tried to overpower each other. Like they each had their role. They didn't try to make it seem like each one was an equal threat, which I think worked. Yeah. And then
because especially like for the scenes where it's like mostly focused on Catwoman, where her revenge is mostly just centered on Falcone.
Oh yeah,
because that's where her grudge is, and she doesn't give a fuck about the Riddler.
Yeah,
and she even said maybe he's right. She even said maybe that Riddler guy is right.
Yeah. Oh man. And then there's the part, speaking of Catwoman, the part where she's like in the nightclub trying to attacking Falcone. Her outfit very much reminded me of Halle Berry Catwoman, because like the whole leather look. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but I thought it was. I thought it was
wore a lot of leather. First of all,
yeah,
like it's just canonically Catwoman wears a lot of leather.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, but yeah, go on. What else is there? There's.
I want to talk about the red wig, really. I'm kidding.
The what?
Just the red wig with the bangs.
Oh my gosh.
With the bangs. Okay, I'm done.
Like,
this has been Max's Thirsty podcast.
So, there's so much done well with it. Like, I thought Christopher Nolan's Batman, like Gotham City, was gritty, but this was
in shambles.
Fucking falling apart. So like, the city barely hanging on. And what I liked about it too is like the stakes kept getting raised. Like, especially towards the end. Okay, you fought like Falcone, cool. Then right after that, oh shit, the Riddler's been there the whole time. Oh shit, the fucking and then
there's been bombs this whole time, just planted and just waiting.
And then then the candidates are in danger, and then no shit, now there's fucking henchmen trying to kill people.
The first death was the freaking mayor.
Yeah, so it was wow. It just. And I liked that it ended in a way where it wasn't like happy. It still ended like everyone was fucked.
Yeah, and as a sequel setup.
Yeah, so I like not just that, but the whole, like, say for example, Dark Knight. He's running off. The problem is in a sense resolved. He runs off, but Gotham is still safe in a sense. For this one, in a sense, Gotham is safe, but it's still underwater. And there's a lot of property damage that everyone has to like. So it's like it was not just like the superheroes saved the day. It's like no, there's a lot of damage that came from this, and we're addressing the reality of it.
And like the whole city's dealing with it.
Yeah.
When you said that like the Nolan Gotham is gritty, we thought the Nolan Gotham was gritty, but this one was just freaking in shambles. Like I remember just remembering the Nolan Gotham, it's just literally New York now.
Yeah.
It's just 2022 New York City, a little bit gritty, a little bit in shambles. It's always just at dusk.
Yeah, over there, it's always dusk. Perpetually dusk.
Even in this Gotham, it was always like 6 p.m. or like it's always 6 p.m. or just before dawn. And then like my friends were joking around. They were like, "Why isn't he glittering?" I'm like, "Because there's no sun." I'm like, if he actually read,
like
speaking of Robert Pattinson glittering, his physique was just regular guy who gets to go to the gym every now and then.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt,
not Christian Bale.
Christian
Bale put his body through some shit.
Yeah, that's part of his. He's kind of his MO.
He does that for every role, but he puts his body through some shit.
But like even then, talking about getting sauced for roles, like putting steroids or using any additional, or any growth hormones or anything like that. Or like for example, Chris Hemsworth, Chris Evans, like all those guys, all the Chris's, Chris Pratt. I think it's pretty. I'd like to hope that it's a pretty well-known fact that these people who get ready for these roles have got to be on some sort of gear, or either steroids or something that helps
or
them,
some unsustainable type diet.
It is very unsustainable because they get
Efron in Baywatch.
Yeah, like getting growth hormones, whatever it is, to get their physique in peak form. And it's, what do you call it? I'm pretty sure he was trying to push back on that, on him trying to gain size for the role, because again, he was against that because he doesn't want to perpetuate the whole thing of like of a very an impossible body image to gain and even maintain because of a movie, because there's no way you're going to be fucking 8 or 10% body fat all the time. Yeah, it is hell. Your body's going to hurt. You're going to get cramps more. It's just not, that's not good for your health. It looks good on screen, but it's not healthy long term.
And Henry Cavill talked about one of the scenes from the first season of The Witcher where he was like in the bath. And like all like muscle definition, like all the veins and shit. And he was like, oh my God, that's so hot. I'm like, oh my God, he's dehydrated. Yeah, he's just dehydrating for that day. Yeah, it's just for that day of the shoot. Yeah, it's because they're creating the image that they're trying to push for the ideal superhero look, but in terms of obviously the body image, that's not attainable, and that adds to the groundedness of the whole movie. Yeah, that he wasn't fucking deadlifting like crazy, like Batfleck, or like go. And it still didn't work. Yeah, and he still got his ass beat. His name was Martha. I think he was a pretty badass Batman, but I think the fact that he was casually killing people as Batman was not something I enjoyed. Like that opening scene, I forgot which one was it. Batman versus Superman, something like he enters a warehouse. He's just, I don't remember any of the Batflex. Like he's just going in there, just beating the shit out of everyone relentlessly. Mm-hmm. And then there's another scene where his Batmobile goes over and hits a truck and crushes a dude. I'm like, this is not what Batman does. Batman does not murder. Yeah. So. Because like even in this the Pattinson didn't kill anyone. They were just incapacitated. Maybe someone died by accident. But yeah, he just beat the shit out of them just really incapacitated, bad. Like anyone he meant to hit was incapacitated. Yeah. Then and even like that like green adrenaline type thing that was injected in himself. Yeah, that was genius. Yeah. I was like, oh, you just have that? That was clever. Yeah, because it's like reminds me of like old like Bane from like the George Clooney. George kind of hated. I hated the part that all he said was Bane. Like he's actually smart, and he just turned into like heavy for Poison Ivy. Which, by the way, clock the red hair. Yeah. But what do you bring that up? Again, it goes to the groundedness of it, because I was like, yeah, Batman gets his ass fucking handed to him. Yeah, and then how does he out? And then how the hell does he get out of it? Like he could die at any second, and then fucking boom, there's your answer. He gets a shot of adrenaline and he goes fucking ham and ape shit. And to me, that feels realistic, because I think in the Arkham game, there's a moment where you just get super pumped with adrenaline and you just beat the shit out of everyone. Arkham Asylum? I think it's Asylum. No, Asylum or Arkham City, either way. But there was a moment where just like you're just in that crazy fight zone, or I could be mixing it up with God of War. But yeah, oh God, I feel like I definitely want to watch it again. I don't care if it's 3 hours. Yeah. It was. My friend even asked me. He was like, "Dude, okay, so what do you think?" Because my group of friends here, like over the whole superhero thing, like mostly because it was like tainted for them by MCU. Because it's just for them, it's just too much, like too soon, and it's just all. Yeah, that's fair. Which I'm like, okay, very fair assessment. Yeah. So like got it off, and then also what was going on with like EU movies that are like kind of not good. And technically, they think are the stronger heroes. Like at least their main all-star cast. And so they were just like, and they kind of turned off from it. So when a friend asked me, he was like, "So what do you think? As someone who consumes this content still, what do you think?" I was like, "Would you watch it again?" I was like, "Yeah, it's worth a rewatch for me, at least." I think it's worth a rewatch because it was entertaining. It was really well executed, and then it was very like, it wasn't like fantastical. It didn't feel like, I don't know. There was no unnecessary humor. I think that became a staple that kind of annoys me sometimes with MCU. That's the thing. There was humor, but like they didn't mean to. I mean, it was just like some of the moments were just funny because they were kind of campy, like just kind of like winking at it, not like again like the full on like Tim Burton Batman like campy. It was just like it's a little bit of camp there. because Batman's supposed to be campy. It's a superhero movie. There's got to be some camp there.
Yeah.
It can't be like, oh yeah, like these people exist in real life.
Yeah. Like,
there's got to be that like hint of camp.
And then there's the whole thing of, what do you call it? Credit to fucking RDJ by like setting the tone for the MCU, but I feel like it became such a staple to have some sort of witty quips every like 10 minutes in the MCU.
Or the third Thor.
Yeah.
Like immediately Thor's like, oh, you have a sense of humor now?
Yeah. It makes sense because like for the actors, they get to be more playful with it. And which I also appreciated because it was refreshing, because it was like, we got a comedy Thor, which is a comedian God of Thunder. So which is like, cool. That's a nice twist and beautifully executed with Taika Waititi, like amazing. But also like, for those who are like purists, it'll probably piss some people off. Yeah. Because
He doesn't do that.
But I think sometimes it just feels forced.
Yeah.
So like, I think
Canned or forced, or just like,
yeah. So because but I think it works for them because I guess it's part of their formula. Like for example, Eternals. There was a moment where they were visiting Druig in his compound, and then I forgot what Camilla's character was, but he was like, I don't do it for the views. And Druig was like, I think he was like, what are your subscribers or some shit like that. But that felt. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That was pretty funny.
It was.
That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
The one where Sprite tried to put Gilgamesh in a baby suit, in a whole baby fucking outfit, pajamas and whatnot. And I was like, I could see the humor. Maybe kids would enjoy it because obviously,
I mean, it's a Marvel movie. It's a Disney Marvel movie. Like, they still want parents' money.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're trying to push products. So if they like the heroes, they're gonna buy the toys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just felt like that was. I got the humor, but it just felt like
it's like we could have done without it.
Yeah, totally could have done without it. But yeah, but either way, I'm not the one already caught. I'm not in the Marvel movie, so who am I just to fucking say anything? Okay, want to switch on over to the other ones?
Yeah, let's. Yeah.
Okay, so next up, we're talking about Encanto and Turning Red and Generational Trauma, which goddamn, these were good. I was not expecting much from Turning Red because I don't know. I don't know. After WALL-E or Toy Story 4, I was like, okay, I think we've hit like that's a cap in terms of like, for maybe it's because I'm older, like these of these new Pixar films that I'm not as receptive to it, or maybe it's because I'm not in the industry anymore. I don't know, but like what was it? The one in the sea monster one.
Luca.
Yeah, that was Luca. Yeah. So I didn't really care for that until I watched it. And then now it's Turning Red. I didn't really care for it until I watched it. Yeah. And it was wow. Yeah.
I will neither confirm or deny that I was weeping for like more than 75% of the movie. Actually, no, it sucked. Don't watch it.
Which part?
All of you saw me freaking. I'm like, every time they do something, I'm like,
yeah. And what I liked about it really addressed one. I liked the use of relatability and kind of culture from each one, like Encanto, like diving into the Colombian culture and everything, and then Turning Red was more like relatable modern day, Chinese, Canadian, 2002, it just
or just like a North American people.
yeah, and it was, and I liked how each film had there was no set bad guy. It was like there was no like.
And Onward, that
one was good too.
Pratt and Tom Holland.
Yeah,
that was good. And there was also no bad guy. It was also like a family thing.
Yeah, it was just like there was just a desire and like in letting go of it or trying to resolve a sort of
racial trauma.
The kind of some sort of trauma or something that you're missing. Because I think with Onward, he was just like he just wanted to see his dad again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then this one, intentioned people from the old guard, but it's not easily adapting to the new generation. And going back to it, I like that there was no set bad guy. It was more like differences that made each other look like the bad guy. Yeah. And the only way to get through it was to like obviously find a resolution that still ended peacefully. No one died.
Yeah, because like in Encanto, they had like basically Umbrellas saying to Mirabel that like, she's the one breaking the magic, and then I was like, no, you are, no, you, you both are. Yeah. You fighting is. But like, and then yeah, and even with turning red, now it's like the mom's like, you're changing too much. You're rebelling. You're not my perfect little girl anymore. And she's just like, was. And
yeah,
I'm 13. I like to gyrate. Deal with it. I'm like, oh,
the pressures of yeah.
Because that was relatable content. Like 2002, like we were around that age.
Yeah,
we were puberty age.
I was around that
like 2002 was 11. I had just gotten my period. And I'm like,
I think I was probably 12, 13. Fuck, I don't know.
You would have been 14.
14? No.
You would have been 14 because I would have turned 12 that year.
Fuck. Okay.
Wait, no,
you're right.
You would have been
13.
You would have been 15, 14, turning 15.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
2002
You're 3 years older than me,
minus
motherfucker.
1987. Fuck me.
You can math better.
Oh my God.
Are you gonna argue with Malin Lee here? I'm kidding.
Shit. Yeah. Oh my God. And I liked that there was addressing of like Encanto feeling like she wasn't good enough to be the part of the family, and no matter what and then we go back to that point, and then turning red, like feeling like you have to uphold this image of like perfection and trying to be a perfect daughter. And then no matter what in both ends, no matter what they do to try to help to seem good, it wouldn't be good enough. And Abuela, or what's her name's May's mom? Ming? Yeah. Like Ming, like we should know they were well intentioned, like for what do you call it? The best of their daughter, the best of the family. But the thing is, like, just coming up for me right now, like no matter how good your intentions are, it's like if you're not listening to the people it's affecting, then your intentions don't mean shit. Yeah. Like think of the family. That's my favorite part. Encanto, like when the dad said, "I'm thinking about my daughter." Yeah. Thinking about the well-being
of my daughter, who's the family.
Yeah. And then I just
when she said that, like, think of the family, I'm like, what, Mirabel's not family?
Yeah. Like they're just trying to hold on.
Vroom.
Okay. That's gonna be fun deleting. But yeah, like the getting lost in the whole. Maybe it's so much of the anxiety of dealing with the future, what they could become. Like, for example, in Encanto, she was afraid of the Abuela was afraid of losing
the magic
candle, like the magic, that possible future. And then she was holding on tighter and tighter that she's not listening. Or even with Ming, like she was holding on to this image so that her daughter is set up to win for the future, whatever it is, that they're not listening into where she is now.
Yeah, she refused to let go of that like perfect picture of her daughter that she has in her head, to the point that when May herself was causing trouble, or like when she drew the freaking merman fanfic of the guy from the convenience store, she's like, oh, he corrupted her.
Oh, yeah.
He did this. He took advantage of her. Now she's doing these things. Like, did he do these to you? He's just like, no, I want to do, like, basically he was trying to say, I want to do these to him.
Oh my, yeah. Yeah.
And then when like after the birthday party, it was just like she was bracing for getting yelled at, like for causing trouble and all that, and not being able to control the panda or whatever the fuck, and go straight to her friends saying, you did this to her, you manipulated her, this was your idea, none of this was her idea. You know why? Because she's a perfect little girl. She's a good girl.
Just that man. If it was my mom, I'd be getting my ass whooped. Like I know she knows I'm not fucking perfect.
That was the whole thing too. That's why I was like, the whole time, every time May's mom says something, or like when they say something about her mom, I'm like, ooh. 13-year-old me just like fucking bit her tongue, because like that's what I grew up with, man.
Yeah.
Especially as the middle child, the only non-male child as well. Like, there was a lot of pressure on me, which, to succeed, because I was basically invisible if I didn't. But then again, if I got into trouble, there's a 50-50 chance that people won't know because I'm invisible. And then that kind of like brings it to Encanto with Lisa as the middle child, like taking on all this pressure.
Yeah.
If she succeed, and if she's not useful, then what is she?
Yeah.
So I was just like, so that's why like when that song and like scene came on, I was just like, floodgates opened. I was like, that's me.
Of her musical number?
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. For Surface Pressure. I was like,
yeah, that was great. I like that they one, they portrayed a strong woman with muscles, and
as
also
very feminine still.
as very yes,
and had her move very femininely.
yes, and that's what I appreciated in terms of her character movement. That she's not, just because she has muscles doesn't mean she's not any less feminine. And
Or
then,
they didn't go into the trope of her looking super feminine, like very slim or maybe even tiny, and then just like being surprisingly strong. No, they really get into it. Like, she's strong. She's gonna look freaking strong, but feminine.
yeah, and I think as an adult, I think I'm grateful that I was able to kind of talk to my mom and kind of hash things out. But I do remember I was never, obviously I'm not a girl, but the pressure from my mom of performing well, and I think there were probably moments where it was like to perform well so I can help the family, because I was like, because I think there might have been that kind of expectation. Once I graduate, once I do this, like I would be able to help her.
Did
And
you
I
ever
think-
feel like you were expected to be the retirement plan?
I don't know if I was expected to be the retirement plan. So yeah, and then shit, man, that's a lot of pressure. Like I think I may have, I could be twisting like information now, like maybe have had some sort of expectation to help the family in general, or like maybe even the family in the Philippines. But also my mom is now at this stage of in our lives, my mom's pretty well aware that I don't want any of that. My mom has this kind of belief, like her own belief is I don't want to be a burden to anyone. Yeah, but I don't think I had that. But she did. I think she was hoping that we would help her out like a little bit more in term. But that's another topic in itself. So
Because like right now, my mom and like her siblings would, because like, okay, when I was growing up in the Philippines, I was one of those recipients of those boxes, the balikbayan boxes,
yes,
that came from here or whatever. And I remember just like opening them, like, oh, look at this shit from Costco. I didn't know what the fuck Costco was, first of all.
And then I remember being a recipient of these. I was like, oh wow, these must have cost a lot. Technically they did. They got them all on sale, but like if you put them all together, it's still a lot of money. It's the shipping costs. And so like now that I'm here and like I'm seeing my mom contributing to these, and like sometimes actually like, putting together a box basically by herself, coming from us, like this family.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here. I'm like, now that I'm freaking 31.
Yeah.
Like I was like, am I going to be expected to do this?
And I feel like I get that kind of, I feel like I get that kind of expectation when my cousins message me, it's my birthday, where's my present? And I know they're joking, but I'm like,
it's also like the idea that like, oh, you live in America, you're rich. Bitch, I still live at home.
Wiping tears in $100 bills.
I know, and wiping my ass with $100 bills. Like, absolutely not. Once I get $100 bill, it's getting stashed in my wallet forever until I use it for emergencies.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't have that expectation, but maybe my little sister, I don't know. But yeah, I definitely didn't have that. But one thing that definitely is nice, especially with turning red. I'm not Chinese, but I am Asian. It definitely feels nice to see representation even more. I think and I didn't realize how great that felt, like in a deep sense, until I watched Always Be My Maybe. And I was like,
yes. Oh my God.
This feels good.
Right?
Like
just seeing freaking Asian faces.
Yeah.
Just Asian.
It felt,
mostly.
Yeah. It felt like it felt like I was being seen. It's like I can imagine myself being in that.
Yeah. And then there was Crazy Rich Asians.
Okay. This is crazy out of my reach.
It's Crazy Rich Asians, but like, I mean, yeah, they're all Asian, but they're all freaking like beautiful and everything. And I'm like, I mean, duh, it's a movie. But I didn't feel as seen, mostly because they're all just
it's still hard to
rich.
relate. The
like, it's still kind of hard to relate to that, but like it feels great to see like basically all Asian cast.
Yeah, all Asian cast.
Like,
flaunting their money, showing like
I also fact that we're not just being just not being shown as like, just poor people living on the streets, like eating rice out of a bowl that's like with like dirty chopsticks and all that. It's like showing that like we have spending power.
Or a restaurant.
We have spending power.
Yeah.
Like I like that flex.
And then showing off like the beauty of these other countries in Asia was like that was great.
It was mostly Malaysia.
I was trying to remember.
A little bit of Singapore and then a lot of Malaysia.
I couldn't remember.
There was a lot of Malaysia being passed off of Singapore.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh man.
They said it too. John Chu was just like, yeah, most of these, like some of the more jungly parts are in Malaysia.
It was
But yeah,
Fantastic.
I mean,
that Crazy Rich Asians is a trilogy of books, so I'm assuming they're gonna have a sequel. Yeah. Oh, fuck
it's
yeah.
in the works with
Hell
Harry
yeah.
Shum Jr. because he was in the bonus scene.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he was in the cast list. I'm like, and we watch it together in theaters.
Yeah.
And we were like, where the fuck is he?
And he showed up. Yeah.
Movie.
Yeah. Damn.
And he showed up at the end, like to make eyes with Gemma Chan.
Oh. What did it have the audiobooks? What's the premise for that? The sequel?
I still need to reread it.
Oh, okay. Because I have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have the actual books. But yeah, turning red, like again, I'm not Chinese or Canadian, but I do live the life of an Asian teen. I lived the life of an Asian teen, like removed from her actual like home country. Technically, May's home country is Canada. She was born there.
Yeah.
I did not grow up in this country, but I did experience being a teen outside of the motherland with parents that are still like holding on to old traditions and very traditionalist values, and they don't really gel with American values and all that. And it was just like, there was like one time, like, I think I said something or did something, and then I got so you're American now? I'm like, oh, really? Am I not? Yeah, I'm like, technically, am I not?
Wow. Damn, that's crazy. So there's that part of like,
it was like
trying to figure out your identity outside of the Philippines.
Yeah. It was mostly insulting because I'm just like, yo, I'm sitting here like and like being like so proud to be like Filipino and being from the Philippines and like growing up there, especially from the region I'm from. Like, I'm like, I'm still keeping up with the news from back home, and like it stresses me out, and the news here stresses me out, and the news from back home stresses me out.
News is just stressful in general.
I just get double stressed, man.
Yeah.
So like, there's me introducing like Filipino food and culture to my white ass friends here, feeding everybody literally anything I can feed them. And even stuff that like I wouldn't normally eat. Like I'll eat it if I'm in a good enough mood. But like, there's just some dishes that I'm just like, I have to be in the mood for. Yeah. I don't just like I'm like, oh yeah, I get dinuguan. Like I have to be in the mood for it.
Yeah.
Like now.
I'm the same with dinuguan. Yeah. I'm like, I know
right
it tastes
now,
good.
Actually.
Oh, okay. I'm like, well, I'm in the mood for sisig. So
okay, let's stop.
Always.
I'm hungry again. Anyway, but yeah, like even the whole like Jollibee thing. I'm like, they like I have coworkers and friends that are like, what's the big deal with Jollibee? I was like, okay, so it's not Filipino food.
Yeah.
Kind of. It was the Philippines like answer like to compete with McDonald's when McDonald's came to the Philippines. Because they were just like, oh, you have that? Bitch, we got this too. And then like
gravy is why I love
actually
it so much.
The KFC gravy in the Philippines and pretty much outside of the United States is pretty dope. Because I remember like me and Bernie were talking about the gravy from back home, the KFC gravy from home, that they would come in carafes and they would chain the carafes to the thing because people would just take the carafe and leave it at their table and bogart the whole thing.
My God.
Because it tasted like a gravy that I would have just made if I had some like chicken grease, some chicken fat, some flour, and like some butter.
Yeah.
Like I could have made it myself. It tasted homemade.
Man.
It tasted like it was made with chicken.
Yeah, man, I can't wait to travel again. You said you're watching the news. Are you aware of what's happening in terms of COVID in Manila?
So they have completely eased restrictions in Manila and a lot of areas that support Duterte. Like literally the city I was born in, there's because they have like, because before like they would have like those weird like acronyms like ECQ, ever quarantine type thing.
Okay.
So it's like alert level 1 now or whatever. It's like the higher the alert level is, the more restrictive it is.
The more letters they get.
So like the National Capital Region, like Metro Manila area, and like some of the parts outside of it, like Cavite included, I believe is on alert level 0 now because this is just absolutely like everything's open. We're all open, kind of. It's still up to like individual private businesses to be like, you need to either be vaxxed or mask up or both or whatever, or show a negative test, whatever. Like it's still up to those like businesses, but like basically everything's open. So there's a couple cities in my region, like region 6, like Western Visayas area, that's like also on alert level 0.
Yeah.
But the one city that's missing from there is where I'm from, the city, which is on alert level 1 or 2, I believe still. But like the numbers don't add up.
Why? I don't get it.
COVID numbers are down. Case numbers are down, like way down.
Yeah.
but they're just like, oh no, you're still on alert level 1 because you still have a lot of COVID. It's no, because the fucking president has a grudge on the fucking mayor.
Oh wow!
Because that's like because when they show like election results, like in each like from like region or like city and like province, like that whole like city and like the province that also in province, Iloilo City and Iloilo province, they voted for not Duterte.
Oh wow, that's petty. That's petty as fuck, dude.
Petty as fuck,
dude. Okay, is there anything else you want to talk about in Encanto and Turning Red?
Let's see. The boy band. I'm kidding. No. Yeah. So I don't know. Like it's with Turning Red, I kind of want to like, do you want to talk about, is you talking about representation and like feeling seen?
Yeah.
I do want to go into, not really go into, but there was a review on Cinema Blend.
Go ahead. Yeah.
By some white guy named Sean. Was a senior editor or whatever the fuck, like he's up there, like he's not just like some random intern or whatever.
Yeah.
Basically said it's been deleted, but like, if you like literally search for Cinema Blend Turning Red, quotes from the review and screenshots will be everywhere. But basically he said, I am not in this movie. This is exhausting.
Yeah.
How do you think we feel?
It's different now that there's like awareness of like, like of because me growing up,
because the default was mostly white faces on screen.
And here's how like affected I was with it. Whenever I draw myself, I've told you guys this plenty of times, like I would color myself lighter, peach skinned and all that stuff, and my mom was like, that's not your skin color, you're brown and dark. I'm like, I'm not. My child like mind was blown. I'm like, that's not my skin color. And I'm like, looking,
I don't look like Kevin.
Yeah, like I don't look like, I don't know, fucking Shane West.
Listen, if you look like Shane,
but yeah, because that never crossed my mind of that, because this is all I had growing up, like the Caucasian actors, like all these in all these movies. Now that it's being a conversation and the awareness of it, I'm like, it does feel nice and seeing my culture, even just talking about, like, for example, No Way Home, when they had Lola, and then just it bring the culture of it, and then her speaking Tagalog. First off, like there's no way Lola would have spoke that slow. She would have been
slow and low.
And
calm.
Yeah, she would have shit.
She would have needed to be more shrill.
Yeah,
chinelas would have been thrown.
She would, and the things she would have said would have been much more aggressive.
Yeah, there would have been like a fuck ton. If she's speaking Tagalog, then there would be a lot of putang. There is a cartoon, Craig of the Creek or whatever. I think it's on Cartoon Network. So one of the characters also has a Lola, but like, which also like feeds into like my soul a little bit, because the Lola doesn't speak Tagalog. The Lola speaks Bisaya.
Oh wow!
Yeah, which is like amazing, because that's like every time someone's like, "Oh, you're Filipino, so you speak Tagalog."
Bisaya is an actual just a language.
It's another language. Yeah, it's not a dialect. It's another language. And because you met my cousin Cheryl.
Yeah.
So her dad speaks Tagalog. Her mom is my mom's cousin, so we speak Ilonggo. So somehow, like, Cheryl tried to learn Tagalog, but like, which gets her to understand her dad, but it doesn't help understand her mom and her mom's family, which she sees the most, because I'm part of her mom's family. Like, by blood, I am part of her mom's family, her mom's side of the family.
Yeah.
So it's just like her grandma, her mom, us when we come over, and she's just like, huh?
Is Chavacano a separate language, or is that a dialect?
Another one. It sounds like Spanish.
Yeah.
Very much sounds like Spanish. My friend Elaine is from that region that speaks Chavacano.
That's freaking cool.
Yeah. And then what was I talking about? But yeah, like I just and the whole representation. Yeah. And then he was just like, I'm not in this movie. And I'm just like, okay, how many freaking movies did we have to sit through with just white people on it? Like, you haven't heard me complain.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how many fucking Marvel movies did I have to sit through that every fucking, besides like Black Panther and Shang-Chi, that like the main superhero is white?
Yeah. And then if anything, aside from if not skin tone or whatever, relatability. I don't know,
it speaks more to my culture.
No, like in terms of like, I watch a movie and I know it's not an Asian cast. How can I relate to them? Oh, they seem to be struggling, I don't know, with dealing with a shitty boss or sadness. Oh, I can relate to that because I feel sad too sometimes.
Yeah, everybody, doesn't matter what you look like, who you are, where you grew up, everybody related to Riley from Inside Out.
Yeah.
And then and then the critics of that reviewer were like, oh, so you never went through puberty? You can't relate?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You never went puberty? Because that was it. Like the overarching part of it, like the whole panda thing was like a whole, also like puberty at the same time. Like she was coming of age and she's going through some changes and she's finding herself through these changes that may not involve what her mother wanted for her initially.
Yeah. Oh, which
is relatable to most people.
Yeah. And that's one thing too. Like when I see her, like in her journey in growing up, it makes me curious into with Jordan, him growing up, because essentially that's like, I forgot what the term was, but it's another stage in their life where obviously they're trying to see who they are separate from the parent, because it's a very similar stage, like terrible twos and all that stuff, kids saying no, being brats. It's like a preview, like it's a separation deviation, something like that, I forgot, but they realize that they are like at that age in terrible twos that they are not their parents, they're not an extension of their parents, but they're their own individual, which is why they say no a lot. They try to do things they're not supposed to. Same thing with teenagers. I'd say the second phase, and I think a recent research says that puberty doesn't end until 25, which is again them trying to discover their own person, who they are without their parents, where they are in the world, what their purpose or passion or what their own meaning in life is. Because it all makes sense why the whole adolescence doesn't really end until 25, because look at some of us who had I'd say luxury to go out and party like crazy responsibly when we became of age or not of age. So if you've somehow made that work and get stupid, I don't know, blackout drunk or try stupid things or take like all the things or and then after 25 you kind of just cool off. It makes sense. But
wow, you just hit my timeline.
So
and the thing is, it wasn't a privilege because that I was allowed to. I was one of those that made it work.
That's fair. Yeah, because like there's the parents that try to keep we got a very tight leash. Is that's a proper thing? Short leash. There you go. That's the thing. Like whole thing of like the tighter you try to hold on, the more it works against you. The more you force the issue, the more you don't get what you want. Yeah. I feel like that's such a thing. And
it's trying to grab at water, man.
Especially like with parenting or with a lot of things. Like my favorite example is often basketball. Like the more you try to make something happen, you force the issue, the more you're less likely to make a shot. Like because you're probably like they're probably operating from ego, operating from insecurity, operating from primarily fear. Like these, like as well intentioned as some of these parents are, and I've seen it, and I'm sure you've experienced it or seen it too. Like parents that are just like they're well intentioned, but where is it coming from with its core? Like the whole fear, like I'm going to keep them close. I'm going to make sure they're not allowed to do anything. So that way they don't become corrupted. Where in reality, that becomes the gateway for them to get corrupted. So I see that didn't, okay. We're going to the chat real quick. Scarred me. Whoever had the stages just hang in there. She didn't, that never rebelled. I don't think I rebelled too hard either compared to my cousins, my siblings.
I rode the line because I still wanted to be I still wanted the accolades at school. I was one of those. I did it for the glory. Like at that point, like I wasn't doing it for the affection and attention of my family. I was doing it for the fucking glory. I was doing it for my pride. I was doing it for the flex. And if it kept me out of the house.
Yeah, like and then for the most part that I rebelled in a sense is probably okay. There's plenty of times I butted heads with my moms, but the thing like that that's true was probably us butting heads about my career choice. Like I'm gonna be a comic book artist. And then we butted heads about that. I was like, it's my life, mom. Yeah. We got to that conversation. And then it just got to a point where like, if we disagreed hard on something, it would be bad. And then, but also like she trusted me a lot. There were instances where like I had a mentor that I was hanging out with. This guy was like 25, 23. And I was a 14, 15-year-old. That putting it into that context now is kind of weird. it's very like red flags now. But thankfully, he was a really good guy. He mentored me in terms of like helping me get out of my shyness. Like he would literally like just go on a tangent real quick to help me help build confidence talking to girls. We went to the mall and he said, go anywhere in this mall. It's within 30 minutes. Talk to anyone. Just talk to anyone. Now like my freaking 15-year-old self was just like freaking out.
15-year-old brain's like,
yeah. Either way, thankfully he was a genuine good guy, but he also introduced me into where he worked because I just hung out with him. He's like my big brother. And then I got to work at a campaign, like I got to hang out until like 4 a.m, getting paid under the table. And my mom was like, yeah, as long as I know where you are, just call me. And then very different with my brother, who like got involved with some really sketchy people throughout in high school, and also different with my sister, where I felt like she was a much shorter leash. So it was just
being the youngest and the girl.
Yeah, So my mom trusted me in that sense, but I feel like as the ages got younger, I don't know why it felt like the leash just got shorter. Yeah,
what was I gonna say? Yeah, like I graduated high school very early for American standards. I graduated at 16. So I was a 16-year-old fucking going to college. And so I was going to be around like all these like 18, at least 18 till like 20. When I went to community college, so 30-year-old or like 30-year-olds and older, like going to community college. And I get that it was I get that like now as an adult, like looking at it like, oh wow, that's a little fucking jarring. This 16-year-old around all these fucking adults.
Yeah.
And then like at the time there were like people that would just like try to hit on me and they'd be like, oh, so how old are you? And I'm like 16. They're like, oh, and I would never see them again.
Jailbait.
At least they knew enough to just like stay away.
Stop. Yeah.
They didn't like pursue it or anything. So it was like fine.
And then and I was just like, why are people being weird? Why is my mom being weird? Why can't I just hang on? I'm in college too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
But the thing is, like, if I were in college in the Philippines with the people my age, I don't think she'd be as freaked out about it. Because they were my age.
Yeah.
We were all in college at the same time. But now in college at the same time with the people I graduated high school with, but they're all older.
You feel like
but at the same time, like I was just never allowed to have fun.
Do people going, I guess the speculation now, if you went to college in the Philippines, because
you never left?
If you went to college there, do you think it would you would have matured faster? Or would you been just like, would that
at the same rate?
At the same rate, 16 would still be like 18, like in terms of like stupid college shit happening.
Yeah. Because I feel like either my parents just wanted to believe it or they did believe that I was mature enough to make they told me that I made the mature decision to not go back to 10th grade. But I'm like, but I already finished 3 years of high school. Why would I start over? That's not a mature decision. That wasn't a mature decision. That was me thinking about I don't want to go through more years of high school.
Who would want to do that?
I'm like, you're going to hold me back? You're going to hold back your fucking genius child? That's what they thought I was.
Oh, that's something we want to talk about too.
That's what they thought I was. Like, you're going to hold back your genius child? My mom told me, because in the Philippines, especially if you're going to go to like private school, you have to take an entrance exam to that school.
Oh, yeah.
So I took to the school that I went to, like where I met like Paula and them, that like I took the test there, and apparently they told my mom that like, because I was going to go into 6th grade, they told my mom I could have gone straight to high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Shit. Okay, because like this is kind of diverting into the other topic we want to talk about, like kids like with special or advanced kids that are gifted children. Yeah, there we go.
And that are now like struggling adults.
Yeah. So, okay, but before we get into that, okay. Mariah in the chat saying, I've never been to a party. I've never snuck out. I never got drunk before 21. Never tried any drink. I was wow. That's props. That's, I think, I mean, you said you're codependent on parents. I mean, I'm glad you have that awareness, and I appreciate that. It sounds like you were an angel of a child. I was raised kind of like
an actual angel child.
Maybe because my mom was sick my whole life and was a stay-at-home mom, so I was always at home helping care for her. Makes sense. Okay. Then my parents never went places without me until my dad went to the hospital when I was 28 and never spent the night home alone. Oh, wow. It sounds like you were always with your parent. Wow. What, stuck at the hip kind of thing? So, and you have 5 siblings, 7 to 20 years older than me. Wow. That's big differences.
Baby.
So you have like very different little generations. You have a Gen Xer kind of older sibling or something, and then a Gen Z sibling. So I was my mom and dad's baby, and my mom clung to me in turn because of how I was raised, as well as bullying in school and anxiety. Oh, wow. And I was okay to cling on to them. Wow. So it was a very like codependent relationship either way. I mean, as long as there's a whole lot of context, but I appreciate you sharing. And I'm pretty sure there's other people who can relate to that. Mine was my mom was never home. My mom was always working 2 jobs.
Both my parents worked.
And school, yeah. And I say like,
I wasn't like a turnkey kid in a sense, because there was always someone home, because we had a yaya who like did everything.
Yeah.
But wouldn't see my parents until like dinner time.
Yeah. I wouldn't see my mom until fucking midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she would be working 2 jobs and still going to school. And this was before the internet, online classes were a thing. She would drive
She would actually go to school.
Pomona to Long Beach, and to those who know how far that is in LA County,
That's a hike.
would be that's like maybe 30 miles, 40 miles max. I don't know. That's and trying to do that in LA traffic. So yeah, very much so. So dying last month after our last one. Oh yeah, condolences to you, Mariah. I hope you're doing well, and I think if I remember correctly, I hope you got the care package from Iona. Yeah.
Okay, I do want to kind of circle back to Turning Red a little bit when.
We went on a mad tangent right now.
Mariah said something about her clinging to her parents.
Yeah.
In a sense, because they didn't do that. She was. I don't think she was like really experienced. They didn't like show like the hard bullying at school. Like she was just being called a weirdo. She's like, I embrace all labels. First of all, queen.
Yeah.
And so when she was going through the whole like pin, I think she was figuring it out, like how to control it or whatever. It was her friends that grounded her.
Yeah.
Not her parents. Her parents stressed her the fuck out. Like it was her friends that grounded her. So it's like kind of like that too. It's like when I'm having problems, like some moms like, talk to me about anything. I think my mom tried that, but I was just like, every time I try to talk to her about something, it's all it's because you did this. I'm like,
it becomes a judgment session, and it's not.
So I'm just like, I'll just talk to my friends then. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, and that's
my friends are just as dumb as I am, but like at least I have someone to talk to.
And that's the part that's true, because I think parents that try to do that are well intentioned, that they want to listen, but if they haven't had the relationship to begin with to have that comfort,
never did.
It's going to be hard, because it's because you're going from like zero, then very deep problems right off the bat, and I think I remember like just reading or even listening to these like these videos and whatnot, like practicing listening to Jordan right now at his age of 10, like at any age, and having the kids just talk and talk and talk and talk, and as not annoying, but as dull as it can get, because they want to talk about the same thing over and over. That's where like it starts. Like, oh, I can talk to my mom and dad about anything.
Yeah.
Because then they have that foundation of like, at 8. I was just listening to him talk about Minecraft all the time.
Because when I was a kid, when I was that age, I would talk about something like over and over again. They were like, yeah, I already talked about that next. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm guilty of that too. I'm super guilty of that. Like Jordan asks me about Minecraft things that we just talked about 20 minutes ago. And I'm like, what? I do remember him asking me my favorite Pokemon like 15 times in one conversation, but I'm like, still Pikachu. Yeah. So it's I'm not perfect. There's like a level of dad awesome that I aspire to be at, but like I'm not perfect, because
mountains of dadness.
The mountain of dadness. But I would like to have that comfort and just have, because I'm not there as much. But yeah, that movie showed like she was clinging on tight to this image her mom put on her.
Yeah.
I don't know. In the beginning of the movie, like next thing, first thing, high school, the next president of UN or something like that, some shit like that. And I'm like, whoa, that is a lot for a kid about her life.
Yeah.
That she had no say in. She's just going with it.
She's just like, yeah, sure, why not? I can do it. It's one of those like parents shaping your future for you and like carving out your future for you, because that's what they want. They want to have a child that can quote unquote rule the world. Like everyone wants a child that can like rule the world.
They want their kids to live up to their potential.
Yeah.
But
what if they fucking don't?
Yeah. Or their idea of potential is different from what the parents have in mind.
Yeah. What if they fucking don't? Like me, like I clearly had potential as a child. I decided I wanted to have a life.
Yeah, because I mean, even then,
here I am with colored hair and glitter in my eyes.
One would say there's the potential of like your idea of potential is different. Like you wanting to have a life is like that's enjoying it. That would be it.
Yeah,
not the potential. Like because
I'm saying this from my mom's perspective.
Yeah, so that because Yeah, what was it? I lost my train of thought, but reading with Mariah said, my mom was like that too, Max. I tried to discuss my suicidal feelings and depressions with my mom when I was a teen. She brushed it off. My parents were from that generation where things were all sensitive or emotional, don't get discussed. Yeah.
Have you ever been told just pray?
Oh, no, man. Just pray. Just pray. It'll go. Things will. It's in God's hands. I, in a sense, because I was religious at one point, do believe that somehow it's in God's hands. Maybe that's just a way of me saying it's not in my control. Things will still work out.
I think that's just some sort of spiritual vent session.
So
you're not getting insight from like a therapist or anything, but if you're like praying, you're like talking to some whatever deity or whatever the fuck, and it's not like you're getting guidance from it. Like you're literally just like saying, this is happening to me. So like finding a way to express yourself, which, you know, is perfectly like valid and everything, but like don't expect some invisible dude in the sky to fix it for you.
Yeah. And then that's where I think that's let go on God, so to speak.
Let go of God. Jesus take the wheel.
Jesus take the whatever. But also I'm like, this is also my life. I get to participate in this shit and take responsibility. So I'm a huge proponent of like, I'm going to do my part to make sure that it does work. I forgot, what book was it? The whole, I think Book of James, like the whole faith without good works is a dead faith. So there's that.
Maybe.
But I remember that whole, what do you call it? That's what my youth minister said. Like, don't just pray. You got to put in the work too, dude. Don't expect God to fix it. It's the same thing as like testing. Or manifesting.
We talked about it.
Yeah. So, like, and I see that with Jordan's great grandpa in terms of like, we don't talk about our feelings or emotions.
Yeah, that was it. Like this tragedy or like this like imperfection in the family happened. We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it. We just brush it off.
We brush off the family weirdo.
And that's actually making sense because my bad habit of like in my relationships before was when we would get into an argument and it was bad, I would come back to as if nothing happened. We would not talk about it.
Yeah, but what if it happens again?
We would.
Does the resentment pile on? Does the resentment from the previous argument pile on?
The resentment.
Yeah, that's why.
From my So then that's what happened, and that like eventually became like So it was. I would just act like nothing happened, or we talk about it, and I would just try to avoid, or just become a very huge thing that what do you call it? An argument that would last fucking 3 days or some shit. Yeah, it was bad, and because I didn't know how to process.
Communicate.
I didn't know how to communicate. Yeah, I didn't have the tools then.
I literally didn't learn how to communicate until like in month 2 of us dating.
Oh yeah. Here's how we're gonna communicate.
Like,
so here's how it's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we'll have arguments, but like they never turn into full blown fights.
Yeah, and I think one thing I'm still learning. I'm learning to transition out of my anger faster. Because you've seen me like I feel. Like we've addressed the thing. Why am I still here? Why am I still angry? What is the thing that I still want?
And then most of the time, while you're like trying to get yourself out of that, I'm just waiting.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
Sit here and wait.
That's the thing too.
Like he'll get over it.
Like I'm dying to connect, but like my anger has built such a friggin' emotional angry wall. Just say something. I want to say something, but at that moment I feel mute. I just feel like I can't say like anything because maybe it's because I'm afraid of like say something harsh, or maybe I'm afraid of opening myself to being vulnerable again. I feel shut down, but I want to, and I'm like transitioning into it. Yeah. I just feel like, at least for me, it's something I need more practice in because like when we're upset, we go into the emotions. We go through our process, but then like for me again, how do I just take that step to back to baseline? And it's, you know what I mean?
So the way I like transition myself out of that like anger, like rage fueled state, I think I told you about it last night too, because we were talking about like journaling. And then I have a separate notebook where I just write things down when I'm angry. Like things I want to say, things I most likely more than like 95% of the time I don't mean towards like anybody or anything. I'll write it down. It's like it's the equivalent of writing an angry email that you'll never send, writing a letter that you'll never send because you don't actually mean it.
Yeah.
Like you just want to like get it out, get those words out of your head, get those thoughts out of your head, and then never see it again.
Yeah, not let
until
it
I open
fester.
up my notebook again, and I'm like, oh, I was angry about that. Jesus fucking Christ, who the fuck? I'm like, it's
That's a great process.
I get to like see the ego fueled rage and like irrational side of me that like I'm not gonna deny. I'm not gonna be like, no, that doesn't exist. Like, no, this bitch is here.
Yeah.
And this bitch is gonna talk, but this bitch is gonna talk on paper. This bitch talks through my mouth. I will lose everybody.
Yeah, I feel you there. Like I will go, like for the jugular, everything. Yeah, I feel you there.
I've done that. Like I've done that to like people, and like, as someone who was bullied a lot, like I know how to go for the jugular.
Yeah, the worst thing I've ever said was, "You're acting like your mom." Never say that to you.
Oh, like, punch you in the nards.
That was like the war. Oh, in a sense,
punch you right in the nards.
I'm not gonna justify myself for a terrible judgment call. But yeah, Mariah saying we have like 4 interfamily adoptions and no one talks about a murdered great uncle. Wow, a grandpa who was in the KKK and the family members who have been convicted for various crimes and no one discusses about it. Her brother was in jail for a year and her mom hid it from her mom, grandma, and was duped about why he was missing forever. Wow. Gee. So yeah, about
that's more than just the family weirdo.
Yeah. This is like really brushing off, making everything seem like
we're a perfect family. Fine. Nothing's wrong with us.
And I can only imagine how that kind of stresses your mind, your brain, and your fucks with your peace of mind.
Because you know what's happening, but no one's fucking talking about it. You don't have anyone to talk to about it. Because then if you decide to talk about it to a friend or whatever, and it gets out, then, you know, the image of you guys being a perfect family is ruined forever. Sure. And then you disappoint whoever it is that wants to keep that image.
And that's the thing too. Like for who, for what, for why? It's like there's this pressures of like trying to look good for mom and dad.
There's a lot of people that care what other people think.
Yeah, like for our aunts, for I don't know, your colleagues, your friends, and there's like so much. I get this because we're like social creatures. Like it's kind of doing these things like that are acceptable in your tribe. It gives you like allows you to still be in that tribe, because if you do something that's not of the norm, you'll be out, like you'll be ostracized. Thank you. Like and then you'll be without a tribe. Maybe it's because we're afraid of that.
Losing your tribe.
Of losing our tribe if we're honest. That's one, because you know it goes against with the whole regular, I don't know, whatever the social norms are for our like a person's specific tribe. It can be scary, and that then there's thankfully
it can be said about friend groups sometimes.
Yeah, exactly, friend groups. Like sometimes I can't recall any memories right now, but like I'm just grateful that at least for the friend groups that I'm here and then that you get to be a part of, like they've been accepting of, especially like many things about us, where it's not, and we're not ostracized, and that's